it's Dr. Jan with some wise words to work with. Today we're going to talk about bias and how it impacts us in the workplace and how we can have confirmation or MySide bias and how that really influences what we think about the target of toxicity and workplace bullying and how we then treat them. You've probably heard of the term confirmation bias if you've listened to any police shows or anything like that. In confirmation bias, I'm going to refer to it as MySide bias, is essentially a cognitive bias that influences how we treat people. For example, police officers or detectives might have confirmation bias about a potential perpetrator of a crime, and they then seek out information that confirms that bias. So instead of looking at something objectively, they find information that confirms what they already think. And we often do that ourselves. And we talk a lot about bias and how we treat other people, but we don't really talk about bias when it comes to our coworkers. So as a social worker, I did learn about bias. I learned about my own bias, right? And what happens and how that influences how I treat my clients. So if you think of your bias or kind of your worldview, like I'm looking out of my glasses, right? So I put my glasses on and I have these lenses on, which is essentially my worldview of how I'm filtering information in, okay? And I have corrective lenses because I don't see very well sometimes. I don't see well without my glasses, and so I have prescription lenses or corrective lenses to correct my bias, if you want to put it that way, right? So my glasses are my worldview, how I'm looking at the world, and because I look at the world oftentimes through my bias, I've learned about my bias. I have corrective lenses to help kind of fix those biases that I have so that I'm not treating people differently based on who they are, okay? But we don't talk about bias when it comes to our coworkers. And so what happens in a bully culture or a toxic workplace, what happens is the bully, okay, is creating a false narrative about the target that as co-workers, bystanders, other bullies, and other people, supervisors, leaders, etc., buy into about the target, okay, not based in reality. So let's say, for example, I'm in your workplace and I have MySide bias against you if you're the target, okay? And so the bully has probably taken a small segment of something that you've done and built it into this huge monumental issue that is false and untrue. So let's say, for example, that once you came into work late, right? You had a massive emergency and you came in late, okay? And you're on time every other time. Most of the time, you're even early. But the bully will then take that one time that you were late and lie, spread rumors, and cultivate a false narrative that you're just a problem worker because you're always late. You're never on time, okay? And what I do then as your coworker, I find information to confirm that. So let's say, for example, I go into your office. You're supposed to be there at 8. I go in there and you're not there, okay? But you're not there because you have a meeting scheduled somewhere else at 8 o'clock and it's not at our main office. But I don't care about that because I'm not going to seek out that information. I'm only seeking out information that confirms that you are a person who's always late. And then I begin to, what that does is I begin to build up an idea that you're a problem in the workplace and you deserve to be abused by our coworker or the bully, and that eventually I might even become engaged in bullying against you because I have sought out information that confirms that you're a problem in the workplace. And oftentimes when you look at MySide bias in the workplace and in toxicity, who do you think is cultivating those confirmations for me? That's the bully. Okay. So there's a lot of things that bullies do behind the scenes to ensure that what they are saying about you is confirmed. Okay. And that becomes then how I decide how I should treat you. And that's my side bias. And it's flawed and becomes very problematic. Especially in toxic and bully cultures, my side bias plays out in a few ways. So if I have my side bias and I think you're the problem because you're the target, again, I see you as less credible. So whenever anything comes out of your mouth, okay, or you're talking, I view you as less than. You're not credible, okay, because I have my side bias against you. I see the bully as credible. So if, for example, if you're a target of workplace bullying and you've reported the bullying and human resources or your supervisor sees you as not telling the truth, or another way that my side bias arises is that people think what you're saying is not a big deal. They don't take you seriously because you're not credible, because you're a troublemaker. It makes sense because they have my side bias, okay? Doesn't make it okay. It's definitely wrong, but they already believe that you're a problem. So whenever you say anything or you report anything, my side bias dictates that they dismiss your allegations of bullying because they see you as less credible, because they have systematically sought out information that confirms what they already believe about you. Okay, so they take the bully more seriously. They dismiss your allegations. They see you as less credible, and they side with the bully. Okay, and all those things are extremely hurtful to a target of workplace bullying. And it's not only hurtful for the target, it's hurtful to the organizational culture. Okay, because what people who have my side bias, like bystanders and supervisors, what they're doing is ensuring that toxicity and bullying continues. So let's say you find out that you think you do have my side bias. What can you do? The first thing is, I think it's really important to help you confirm that you might have bias against somebody or about someone, is to self-reflect on your own thoughts and feelings and behaviors, okay? And so you want to acknowledge that you might have my side bias. You want to self-reflect on your behavior. And you also, part of that reflection isn't just I'm doing X, Y, and Z. It's how is what I'm doing impacting other people? Again, because you can have bias, but not let it affect other people, right? Because you might have corrective lenses on that have helped you deal with that bias and manage it so it's not hurting other people, okay? And so the other thing you can do is identify the source of your bias, okay? So let's say you have a bias against me, and people think I'm a troublemaker. You think I'm a troublemaker because you have my side bias. You need to figure out where that's coming from. Okay, what have I done to you particularly that you might think I'm a troublemaker? Okay, and maybe it ends up that you find out that that bias that you have, the source of it is really coming from the bully. Okay, and that they've cultivated a narrative about me being a troublemaker that is not based in reality, because that's oftentimes what happens in toxic and bully cultures is the bully spends a great deal of time cultivating rumors and lies about the target, and also spreading information and providing you with information that confirms your my side bias. They spend a lot of time not doing their jobs, but cultivating falsities and lies in the workplace. The other thing you can do is practice empathy. Okay, what might it be like to be called the troublemaker? What might it be like if you were walking in the shoes of the target? What might that feel like? And and this is important when it comes to empathy, how might you feel if I was treating you the way you were treating me, right? So you need to walk in those shoes. And so again, one of the things that happens in bully culture is there is a groupthink, you tend to go along with people, the majority of people, because that's easier. And you need to really challenge those narratives and falsities if they exist in your organizational culture. Because when you go along and you let your MySide bias, like, right, if I took my glasses off and I had to look at my world without my corrective lenses that help me deal with and manage my bias, okay, my world and how I treat people is going to be different. So you have bias, we have bias. That's who we are. Part of being a human being is we have biases. But part of being a good coworker is being able to identify and address your bias and not allow it to impact your relationships, okay? And it's especially difficult to address your MySide bias and acknowledge that your bias exists in bully culture because there is so much information and so many people confirming what you think you know to be true that it's very difficult oftentimes to recognize that what you believe about the person, and I'm going to call that person the target, is not true. Okay. If you have any questions, comments, or would like me to talk about anything, please email me at jan@stopbullyculture.com. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next week.